Welcome to the Emerging Screenwriters Interview Series, sponsored by ISA. I am Shayna Weber, and we are here today with...
Katie Crone.
Hello, Katie.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Thank you for being here. Let's start off with a couple icebreakers.
Sure.
Just to sort of like loosen up. What are you watching right now?
Ooh, a lot of What We Do in the Shadows.
Ooh, yes.
Love that show. And then I've weirdly been watching all the movies that I should have already seen by now.
Sure.
So just like Alien and like Blade Runner and just a lot of death.
Yeah. Intense.
Yeah.
I love that, though. What made you decide you wanted to go back and watch some like movies that you probably should have seen?
I don't know, because it's funny, like I love like writing the feature-length scripts, but I think just actually getting yourself to like sit down and commit to a new movie is like really hard right now for some reason. I don't know. And so I think I just got on a roll and I was like, I have to capitalize on this.
Right.
And just watch them all.
You've like figured out your attention span. You're like, I can do it. I can watch a whole movie.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. Who are your heroes within the film and TV industry?
Ooh, I think a big one for me is Diablo Cody.
Okay.
Because I'm very Minnesotan, and she is very Minnesotan. And all of her scripts, like, feel very Minnesotan. So in addition to just being good, they feel like home. So I absolutely love her. So she's definitely number one.
My writing partner's from Minnesota, so.
Ah, okay.
Yes. Let's go back to the beginning for you. Growing up, when did you first start sort of realizing or playing with the idea of being a writer? Where did you start? What were those like early memories?
Sure. It's kind of a hard question because I can't really remember like a time before, if that makes sense. It's like asking my first memory of like my sister. She just was always there. Writing was just kind of always there. So like I guess earliest memories are like being in the backseat of my mom's minivan, like in a high chair, singing along to the radio but like changing the words. Or I remember my parents came back from like my first grade parent-teacher conference and they were like, Katie, the teacher said that you're doing really well in school, but like you're not talking to the other kids. Are you not talking to the other kids? And I was like, well, yeah, I'm working on my poetry. I'm very busy. Mom and Dad, I'm very busy. So yeah, just a lot of memories of like just being on the school bus, like frantically trying to finish a chapter. It just was, it never really felt like a choice. It was just kind of there.
It was you.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. I was reading in your bio that you went to college for songwriting.
I did.
Tell me about your path leading up to that point, and going to school for songwriting.
Sure. So like, I think writing has always been a part of my life, but it's manifested in very different ways. Like, I think I always loved writing songs when I was young, and then I would try to write novels, and then I would try, like, I was always writing something, but the medium changed a lot. And I think part of why I chose songwriting first is it's like an easier medium for a young writer. Like, trying to write a novel is hundreds of pages, and writing a song, it's like 3 minutes. It's a lot more doable. So I ended up pursuing songwriting more seriously, and I went to Belmont University in Nashville. I actually graduated with a degree in songwriting and music business. And then kind of understanding the reality of where the music business is right now. If you want to be a songwriter, you're expected to churn out like 3 songs a day, which isn't necessarily the way my brain works. Like I want to sit with it for a long time, and I want to like ruminate. And I want to, like, ruin parties because I'm still, like, thinking about this thing and I want to talk about it with people and, like, not stop talking about it. And that's just not how the music industry realistically works. You're churning out things really quickly. It's a machine. Yeah. So I think I switched to writing scripts partially because I was in college for songwriting and I had just terrible writer's block. And I decided, like, let's just write something else as, like, a palate cleanser, and then maybe it'll help me get unstuck. So I started working on a script and, like, really quickly realized, oh, I think I like this more. And I guess, too, like, when it comes to finding a medium that works for you, like, for me, like pilots and feature-length scripts, it's, like, the sweet spot for me, where it's somewhere between, like, 30 to like 120 pages, that feels like perfect. Where like a novel feels too long and too daunting, and like songs sometimes feel too quick. Like it's the sweet spot of what I like.
From discovering screenwriting and you're, in the songwriting. So you graduate. How was that, making that transition? When did you move to LA? What was that part like?
I graduated with a degree in songwriting, partially because I was like, I'm almost done.
Yeah.
I know I want to write in some way. You don't really need a degree to write. So I was like, well, we'll graduate and see what happens. And I actually minored in education. So I went on to teach after I graduated. And then the entire time I was teaching, I was also working on my scripts. And it ended up weirdly being very helpful, because I think when you are an English teacher or an English tutor, having to explain to children in a way they understand, like, what is characterization, what is plot, what are like themes and motifs, like you're just talking about stories all day and seeing how kids react to stories and what they're drawn to and what bores them, and like it weirdly was in a way like my writing school.
Right, like you were getting educated yourself.
Even though I was teaching them,
right.
It was, or like having to explain to someone how to make their writing stronger is just gonna make your writing stronger. So that entire time I was working on scripts, and then I decided in 2020 that I was gonna move to LA, and that did not happen. I'm sure you can imagine why. So I had to put those plans on hold for a sec, but then I moved out here, like, I want to say the summer of 2021. Yeah. So I've been here for about a year now. Yeah.
Let's talk about that space during the pandemic when you were just hunkered down. What was that like for you, and how did you use that to your benefit?
So yeah, this is a great question. It was interesting because I ended up going back to Minnesota to stay with my family for about a year, because I had a roommate who was like very immunocompromised, and so just for everybody's safety, that was our best option. And literally, like March of 2020, I was contacted by a production company asking me to write a script for them, because they found me through, like, I did well in the Nicholls, and they found me and wanted me to write something for them. So like from the very beginning of the pandemic, I did have this script to work on, which was kind of like a blessing and a curse, because on one hand, like it gave me a place to like process everything that was going on, and it gave me a sense of purpose, and it ended up like now I have this script that I'm so proud of. But it also was a little trippy of like, the world is ending and I'm just typing away, and like it feels real, it feels like it's happening, but like they're in LA and I'm in Minnesota, so it like doesn't feel real. I was a little worried that it was like a Shining situation.
Oh, no. Because
literally in Minnesota it got down to like -20 degrees, so I was just inside typing away, being like, I really hope I'm actually writing something. I hope this feels a lot like The Shining. I'm getting concerned. But I did write a real script. So
that's amazing. You like look back, you're like, what is this?
I know.
Oh, no. Then you said you moved to LA summer of 2021. So how has that been for you since moving here? You can tell us the glamorous side and then the not so glamorous side.
Sure. It's definitely, it's been an adjustment, just because LA it feels almost like its own country. It feels, it's a very specific culture and a very specific vibe. And thankfully, like, I really do genuinely love it here. And yeah, so far it's been really, really great. I weirdly have a lot of friends out here that I wasn't expecting. Like, there's people I went to college with who are out here now. There's people I went to high school who are out here now. And so, like, weirdly, a lot of people where I thought, like, well, never gonna see them again. No, they're here. They're all here.
Well, let's talk about that adjustment. So, when you were first moving out here, did you know anybody? Did you move by yourself? And then how did you start, reaching out to those people, or networking, or like meeting those, social media or like industry people in person?
Sure. So I I think I have kind of taken a winding road to get to screenwriting. And so like the typical ways you network are by like being a PA and by being an intern and like paying your dues that way. And for me, always being in Minnesota and Nashville, that just wasn't necessarily an option. So the vast majority of the connections that I've made have been just by submitting to a lot of contests and a lot of fellowships, and sometimes you get lucky and you do well, and or like one of the judges works for a production company and they just really connected with your stuff, and so that's the way that I've made I would say most of my connections is just like sending it out into the void, and sometimes the void calls back.
Right. I think that's important, though. It's like being able to put yourself out there and your work out there. How many scripts or pilots, how many bodies of work do you have currently?
Sure. I have 3 feature-length scripts. One that we don't talk about because, the first one's never good. It's like the first pancake. It's, we don't need to look at that. So 3 that I consider like real scripts. And then 2 pilots I have completed, and a pilot that I'm currently working on. But again, we don't want to look at that one just yet. It's not there yet.
I get it. I think it's a recurring theme that we do talk about of like, there's those beginning scripts that you write that you're like, nope, those are never seeing the light of the day. What do you think, as being somebody now at your place, why do you think that's important to just let those go? Because I think a lot of people maybe write that first one and think, okay, this is it, and they go out with that. What's your advice in regards to those first scripts?
The things that are popping into my head are weirdly like the things that I would tell kids when I was teaching, where like staring at a blank page is so intimidating, and the best thing you can do for yourself is just like get something on the page, like get it done. Like done is better than perfect, because perfect doesn't exist, and so you have to write that first bad script in order to figure out like, okay, well, why is it bad? Why isn't it working? What parts of it are working? And I can keep doing that, and then what parts of it are like, oh, I see, like that's not working, and I know how to fix that in the next one. You have to write the bad one to get to the good one, weirdly.
For you specifically, what do you think about that first one that you're like, we're going to talk about that one? What do you think went wrong with it, or what do you think are the lessons you learned from that first one that you take with you?
Sure. I think it was trying to do too many things, if that makes sense. It was like, it had like 3 or 4 themes, and it had like a bunch of different characters who were all like, not all like learning the same lesson, if that makes sense. And like, it was a lot of, I think I had a hard time like killing my darlings, right? Where it's like, okay, that scene, like, I think it's funny. It's not serving the story though. So like, you just have to delete it, even though you love it.
Yeah.
So stuff like that. It was a lot of just, learning to streamline and get to the core of things.
I totally get that. So let's talk about where you're at now in your career, and what's your current path right now?
No pressure.
I know.
But, I think there are a lot of good things happening. I just got top 50 in the Nicholls, which is always exciting and always leads to a lot of connections. So I'm very excited about that. I just finished doing a lot of rewrites, actually like with Felicity and Jordan at ISA. So hopefully that script is one that is going to be taken on by the development branch of ISA, and it can start getting circulated again. I'm also just applying to just a ton of fellowships that are more based on like actually getting like time in the room with mentors, because it's great to like win contests and get to your little laurels, and they feel like Girl Scout badges, and like like that's great, but I'm focusing more on like applying to programs where you actually get to like work with those mentors on a daily basis, and
get those meetings, get those connections, the actual people that can help you move forward. I love that. And so when it comes to ISA, can you talk a little bit about how did you learn about the ISA? How did you first find us, and what were your impressions, and then what do you find most valuable about ISA?
Ooh, those are all great questions. I think I found it through, I was just looking for like different contests to apply to, I think is how I found like the diversity initiative and the development slate and all of the great contests that ISA provides. I think that's how I found it. And then as for what I found most valuable, I think one, I really appreciate how much emphasis goes into like celebrating people's success and like amplifying it, like when people are having those opportunities, like giving them a platform to be like, things are going good. And then I guess, yeah, I think also the just the attention that I've gotten from Jordan and Felicity and has been really invaluable in like getting to this new draft of this script that I'm so happy with. Their feedback was a huge part of that. So yeah, just like the individualized attention has been really great.
Is that Girls Drool? Is it that one?
Euthanasia.
Oh, okay. That's
yeah.
I've heard about that one.
Oh, okay.
I've read Girls Drool. I loved it.
Oh, thank you.
But yeah, I keep hearing about this one.
Yeah.
You mentioned like a minute ago that you are, your next step sort of is to get in those meetings, those rooms with mentors and people who can take you. How do you think ISA, especially now that you have this new draft of the script, what do you hope happens for you moving forward with us, I guess, essentially, and maybe something of like, what you wish would be the outcome?
Well, I mean, like, ideally the script gets to start circulating again and somebody buys it and we get to make it. Like, that's the dream, right, is getting to that stage there. Even when that doesn't happen, just like getting your work in front of people again and just getting to meet new people and form those relationships and that lead to who even knows what. Do
you consider yourself introverted? Are you extroverted? Are you a combination of both? Like, how do you do when you have to go out and sort of like, say you're going to like a film festival or something and you're like, oh, I got a network. How do you attack that?
Ooh, it's funny you say that because I was just talking to my mom on the phone today because I read a book called Quiet, The Power of Introverts or The Power of Introversion. And I was telling her, I was like, Mom, I feel personally attacked. I've never felt more understood or more bullied in my entire life. So I'm definitely an introvert for sure. But I think I can do the networking stuff mainly just because I think if you just go into a room with the intention of like making other people feel comfortable and making other people feel seen and focusing your energy on other people instead of yourself, it just takes so much of the pressure off and you end up making better friends. So
that's a good point.
Yeah.
We're going to get into voice, talking about your voice. But I didn't prep you on this, but I want you to just viscerally think of the first 3 adjectives to describe yourself.
I don't know.
Don't censor yourself. Just what do you think?
I don't know. I think you can cut out all this dead space, right?
No, it's fun.
Okay.
We like this.
I think that I am very thoughtful.
Clearly.
Yes. In terms of just like I love to be in my own thoughts. Like whenever people are like, oh, I hate having to sit in silence with myself, I'm like, you just described my favorite activity. So yeah, very, very thoughtful, very curious. And then I'm, I guess, just drawn to all things like silly or just absurd or whimsical, if that makes sense. I don't know if I come across as silly, but that's what I'm drawn to. Those are the things that I love. Yeah.
So then let's bring this into, how would you describe, as a writer, how would you tell somebody when somebody says to you, what is your voice? How would you answer that?
I would say I love leaning into anything campy and silly and absurd and then finding a way to ground that in something sincere and something heartfelt and real, and finding the sweet spot between those two things is where I like to live as a writer. Yeah.
That's a great description, and I can totally see that.
Oh, good.
Yeah. How did you always know that was your style or your interest? How did you hone that voice?
I think it's kind of just an amalgamation of all the things that I've kind of loved throughout my life. Like I was a huge fan of musical theater when I was young, which is just pure camp And a huge fan of like classic literature that's like so serious that it's campy in a way, you know what I mean? It takes itself so seriously that it like loops back around to being just so silly. And then I think also my immediate family's sense of humor has definitely been a huge influence. Like if you look at my family, my mom's a doctor, my dad's an engineer, my sister's in law school, and my little brother's still in high school, but he like wants to be an engineer. So like very you would think that it's all very like type A, very serious people, and they are very serious about what they love, but then you talk to them and it's so funny, just like so just absurd all the time. And I think it's you probably don't necessarily get to see that outside of our family. You would assume like what a serious family there, but then you go in our house and it's just like just laughter all the time. Yeah.
So was your family happy that you took a creative path, or were they like, hi, doctor, over here? I think I really credit my parents for this. I think that they were like a little confused at first, but then like so quickly so supportive. And I really, really appreciate that as soon as I was like, nope, this, they were like, well, okay. And then I think since then, like, specifically with my dad, we've gotten to have a lot of conversations about the overlap between what we do. And I think the definition of creativity, people immediately think of just anything in the entertainment industry, when the truth is like every single job requires creativity in some way. And like for my dad as an engineer, he does a lot of coding. There's a lot of similarities between writing and coding that we're able to like talk about and commiserate on. So I went to school for engineering,
really?
So I fully understand what you're saying.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just a different use of your brain in a different way than, like, it's still storytelling in a sense.
Yeah, it's storytelling, and problem solving, or like I was talking to my dad about like, okay, I'm trying to rewrite the script and I need to like fix this scene, but if I take that out, this thing over here unravels. He's like, oh, like code. And I'm like, yeah, I'm like unraveling my code and I need to like figure out a way to make the whole thing work again.
Right.
Like, yeah, it's so similar.
I love when I like vibe, you know, like I'm like, oh yeah, it is. I guess we're in the same sort of thing. Okay, so I mean, you're fairly young, but if you could give your younger self advice from where you're at now, what would that be?
I would say share your work with other people sooner. Because I think when I was young, I was writing a lot, but it took me a long time to actually start like opening up and like sharing the songs I was writing with other people, or sharing the stories I was writing with other people, just because I think you feel really protective of it. It's your own, and like while it's yours, it's perfect, and then the second you share it with the world, there's feedback and the flaws are exposed, and like but like just show it to other people sooner. Just show people. You know, it's so funny, the woman who was here before you, she said that's like the exact same thing. Yeah, it's like share it sooner, like don't hold on to it for so long. Yeah, that's amazing. So you're on the right path. What's the best piece of advice that you've ever received in terms of creativity or writing? Well, the first things that pop into my head are just like a bunch of quotes. Dude, I love different writers. But I think... Give me your best quote, because I feel that way too. Like I instantly think of memes and like the quotes that are on social media. I'm like, oh yes. I think, well, one of my favorite quotes about writing is like there's only one rule: things are not what they seem. And that's just all of story right there. So I love that rule. And then I guess I'm avoiding saying the true answer just because it's so cliche, which is like, just do it. Just write a lot. Just write a lot. If you're a writer and you're actually writing, you're doing better than like most writers. just do it. Just write a lot, and then show people. And that's really all. It sounds simple, even though it feels so hard. But that's like storytelling. The simplest way is sometimes, you know, another like cliche, the simplest way is sometimes the best. Right. You know, you have to simplify a little bit and just get down to the core of it. You are a top 25 writer to watch in 2022 with ISA. Can you talk a little bit about that, you know, being selected for that? How were you selected to be a top 25 writer? And then did that propel you onto the development slate, or was it the opposite way? I think it's because I did so well in the like diversity initiative, and then because of that, I got onto the the list of top 25 and the development slate and all that good stuff. I think it was all through the diversity initiative.
Yeah, because Girls Drool was
Yes.
a top 3, right?
Yes.
Of the diversity. Okay. When you first started with the development team, with Felicity and Jordan, and they were working with you, how do you think that from that point earlier, this year, how do you think that has elevated where you're at or helped you on your path?
Well, I guess going back to that idea of like having your little Girl Scout badge, it really does help you just like get in the door of having somebody like vouch for you, just with the sheer amount of content that people are producing. Like having that sort of recognition does just help you get that email or get that meeting or just get your foot in the door. And then I think on a deeper state, like when it comes to like the rewrite of euthanasia or even like the pitch materials that I've been developing for all these scripts, like their feedback has been like very, very invaluable.
What lesson did you learn from songwriting that you
Good
applied to screenwriting?
That's a great question. It's one, it's more powerful when people don't say what they mean than when you say what you're feeling. I think that applies to songwriting, and it applies to constructing a scene. And then I would say songs are like scenes and albums are like scripts, where it's just about like capturing a moment or capturing a feeling or capturing a decision in a bottle. And yeah, and then I guess the only other thing is like songs are so short, you have to be really succinct, and like every word matters. And that's just always a great writing technique to apply to anything you're writing, is just making sure you are succinct and that every word really counts. So, yeah. Thank you.
That's true. Very true. Okay, so fun questions. What is your favorite word?
The first thing that's popping into my head is gazebo.
Okay,
it's just fun to say. I don't know. It's just, gazebo. Next question.
Amazing. What what grammar or spelling error drives you crazy?
I think just because I taught for so long, it's just commas. There's so many comma rules, and you'll tell kids where to put the comma, and then they put it anywhere else.
Well, do tell us, where do you put commas?
It's, thank you for asking. A lot of comma rules are based on separating things that are not the subject and predicate from everything else. So, like, your subject and your predicate is the main part of the sentence, and then, like, anything else you attach to it, you usually need to separate with a comma.
All right. There's your
there's your
grammar lesson. Yeah. Okay. If you were granted 3 wishes, what would they be?
World peace. And I would love if they made Drop Dead Gorgeous into a TV show. I really want that. I want that to happen. And I want to write it. That's number 3. Let me write it. I'll do it. It should exist, and I will make it happen.
I think you would confuse the genie very much. He'd be like, really? That should... Okay.
Yeah. But
I love Drop Dead Gorgeous.
Very Minnesotan.
It is Minnesota, isn't it?
And the cast is stacked. Like, before they were even famous.
Oh my gosh, that's true.
Yeah. They whoever casted that movie
was a genius. Yeah.
Oh.
Well, so put it out there into the universe. You just did. You just said, I want to write Drop Dead Gorgeous, the TV show, and go. Well, thank you so much for being here as part of our Emerging Screenwriter interview series, and wish you the best of luck moving forward.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.